Today, many businesses operate under a dangerous assumption that a signed independent contractor agreement guarantees absolute legal protection. But when the Canada Revenue Agency, the CRA, evaluates a worker's status, they bypass the title at the top of the contract. Instead, they audit the actual day-to-day working conditions. The agency is trying to answer a single binary question. Is the person working as an integral part of the payer's organization, or are they legitimately in business on their own account? If the text of a written contract and the operational reality conflict, the law is strict. The day-to-day operational reality will always dictate the legal outcome. To dissect the total working relationship, the CRA uses a multi-factor analytical framework known as the fourfold test. Drafting a contract is merely the starting line. A legally defensible independent contractor status requires a business to aggressively construct the right operational practices. The primary historical determinant in the test is the degree of control the payer wields over the worker's daily activities. For an employee, the payer strictly dictates what work is done and exactly how it is executed. They set specific hours, mandate specific methods, and require direct supervision. An independent contractor dictates their own schedule and methods. They are accountable strictly for delivering a final result, rather than adhering to a mandated process. Employees are bound by exclusivity constraints. They must actively seek permission from the payer to take on outside work. A contractor maintains the absolute right to service multiple clients concurrently without notifying the payer. When executing tasks, an employee relies on the payer to provide the necessary training. A contractor arrives with their own independent expertise and utilizes established proprietary workflows. The CRA measures control by looking at whether the worker retains their operational freedom or has surrendered it to the payer's authority. The second factor is ownership of tools and equipment. This metric tests who is actually capitalizing the operation. For employees, the payer supplies the majority of the necessary capital assets, such as computers, specialized tools, and company vehicles. The payer also retains all financial responsibility for the repair, maintenance, and replacement of those assets. A contractor must provide their own tools, equipment, and a dedicated, self-funded workspace to accomplish the contract. They alone must absorb all associated operational costs, including commercial insurance policies, routine maintenance, and equipment repairs. True independence requires bearing the hard, upfront costs of an operational infrastructure, rather than relying on the payer's balance sheet. The third factor is the chance of profit and risk of loss. This is the ultimate litmus test for whether a worker is acting as an independent enterprise. This chart shows the employee compensation model. They receive a fixed wage, salary, or hourly rate that guarantees a highly stable, predictable income. They face zero risk of operating losses or unreimbursed business expenses. This chart shows the contractor's exposure. They face genuine financial risk, routinely holding unreimbursed operating expenses and heavy equipment costs that could result in a net loss. But they also have the opportunity to increase their profit margin by actively negotiating pricing, managing their internal costs, and scaling their capacity. Employees must perform the work personally, cannot hire assistants, and hold no financial liability if contract obligations are missed. As a business, a contractor is free to hire assistants or subcontract the work, paying those costs out of their own pocket. They also carry distinct financial liability for poor craftsmanship or failing to fulfill the terms of the contract. Genuine independent contractors rely on their own efficiency and market value to generate profit, moving beyond the safety of a guaranteed hourly rate. The final factor is integration. This requires zooming out to assess the overall nature of the relationship and the centrality of the worker's role. An employee's work is an integral, ongoing, and essential component of the payer's regular, daily business activities. Their relational dynamic is defined by long-term continuity, loyalty, and a clear chain of subordination. A contractor's services are strictly accessory or auxiliary to the main business, carefully limited to a specific task or a strict time frame. Their relationship to the payer is purely transactional, project-based, and inherently lacks employment security. Employees receive standard internal benefits, like group health plans, pension contributions, and vacation pay. Contractors receive absolutely zero employee benefits. A true contractor remains safely on the periphery of the payer's core business machinery, functioning strictly as a hired external accessory. Reviewing the massive amount of data organized in this framework establishes that a total working relationship is highly complex. The CRA does not rely on any single conclusive metric. Instead, they weigh the totality of evidence across all four of these domains simultaneously. Merely papering the relationship with an independent contractor agreement is useless if the daily operational practice leans toward the employee side of the scale. Businesses and contractors must proactively design and audit their working relationships, not just their contracts. To withstand CRA scrutiny, you must seek strategic legal advice to draft, review, and successfully operationalize your business engagements. A robust defense against CRA reclassification rests on the documented reality of a truly independent business operation, far outweighing the presence of a signature on a page.